Okay, so we are going to start on lateral movement and privilege misuse. This one's a little bit lengthy, so I'm going to try and get it through all of it in an hour. If not, we can always come back next week if you guys are interested, and we'll just continue on a little bit after that, or maybe we can, go 10 minutes over or something tonight if I end up running out of time. I also have a smaller use case after this that I'm starting to build out a little bit more that deals with OSINT. The last one that we covered, just a little bit of a recap, was theft, loss, and data exfil. That's something that a lot of them try and defend against by that DLP, and we walked through some snort rules and doing that kind of stuff. So let's see here. So lateral movement is after they've already gotten inside the network, and privilege misuse would be like if you had an admin that was using their credentials maliciously, or somebody that wasn't supposed to have admin credentials internally ended up using those by, borrowing them from somebody else, whatever. So first step is Recon. So certain things in the Recon phase that attackers are most likely to use in this use case would be things like testing for default weak credentials. There's a tool called BloodHound that actually will run through and enumerate users in Active Directory, and we'll walk through using that here in a little bit on our domain controller. And they do other things like using pre-installed tools and commands to gather intel on systems. So PowerShell, WMI, DNS walking, that kind of like SNMP walking, stuff like that. And a few other things that are super noisy but still happen internally are things like port scanning, vulnerability scanning. So for BloodHound, it'll allow pretty much anyone that has any credential to enumerate the Active Directory database. And that's built by design. That's how Active Directory works. If you have an account, you can pretty much query the entire Active Directory database. So we're going to go through and see how easy it is to detect to use, as long as you're actually logging on the device that BloodHound's being run from, obviously. BloodHound also has this fancy database connection that does all this other stuff, and they have walkthroughs on that show like graphs of the AD enumeration and the different user accounts. But we won't really have to worry about that in this case, as that kind of takes significant time to set up and test. If you've never used PowerShell before, and if you haven't enabled it the last time we ran PowerShell, I'll also walk through a little bit of like the execution policy stuff. So go ahead and open up your domain controller, and I'll show you at least the beginning of how BloodHound works. See if I can find my DC. Oh, that's fine. That's still starting up. That's disconcerting. Aw. I started this up like a half an hour ago. I think this is a DC too, so we'll do it on this one. Yeah, this is. See if I can remember my password for this one though. Woohoo! All right. Well, that one wasn't very happy, but it's working, so that's good. So we're gonna go ahead and open up PowerShell. I wonder if that's gonna open it as admin. We'll find out. You want to git dash execution policy. It helps if you spell it right. Exit, son of a gun. I'm just going to start over. This is ridiculous. Right? Execution policy. Okay. Phew. There we go. So we do need to set that to unrestricted because remote signed isn't going to work when we run BloodHound on this. So we'll do set execution policy. Typed it right that time. Unrestricted. Yes. Enter. Ta-da. There we go. And let's see if I have BloodHound on this one. I do not. So we'll grab that real quick. Yeah, you can tell I've not used Internet Explorer on this. This is on GitHub. Oh, geez, oh Pete. I can't spell tonight. Sorry, guys. Yeah. All right. Okay, so this BloodHound, we're going to unzip this. And everything in this BloodHound master file, we're going to copy over to our temp directory. So I can actually run everything. There we go. So we're going to cd into ctemp, and then into BloodHound master. Why do I not have PowerShell in here? Crud. I wonder if they've changed it. Hold on one sec, let me find it. Oh, here we go. This is if you, so this is if you want to actually go through and do all the database stuff, but there's actually a repo that you can go to on the GitHub page that will, that already has the compiled binaries. So down here, so these pre-compiled BloodHound binaries are right here. And it should be in these. We want 64-bit. Oh, give me a break. I hate Windows Explorer safety settings. So there's this IE enhanced security configuration. I've never found it to be helpful. And technically you're not supposed to browse from your DC anyways, so you wouldn't really need to worry about this. But you do need to turn that off to download stuff. I don't know. Does anybody not have it downloaded? Because I can go to my other DC now and actually run it, and I have it on that one, or I can try and troubleshoot my internet settings. Ugh. Not that one. Where'd my chat window go? I can't see my chat with you people. And just so you guys know, I'm pretty sure you can still hear me, but I don't have chat anymore because of reasons. So I can't see anything that you're saying. So hopefully Brian can.
Loud and clear.
Okay. So if you have any questions, Brian, can you like read them to me? Or tell me if everybody's like laughing at my installing Chrome.
No problem.
God, I hate Internet Explorer so much. Go away. Close all tabs.
So do a lot of people at MS.
All right. Let's download this now. Yeah, let me download Chrome, but it wouldn't let me download a zip file. Whatever. This should be the right stuff. Let's see here now.
Sorry, I moved into my office, so.
That's fine.
Nothing, just narrating it a little bit.
Okay. Well, why does this not have any of the PowerShell stuff that I need? It's literally like one PowerShell script.
What's the name of the PowerShell script?
It is
Because we could probably just Google it.
BloodHound.ps1.
Oh. PS home. No, that's fine. It's like it's in the Empire framework as well. Let me grab a link to it.
Oh, see, I have an entire PowerShell directory on this one that I don't on the new one I downloaded.
Mm.
Well, yeah, so we're not going to write that right now. So, do you have a link to just the PowerShell? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you put that in the other chat that I can't get to?
I put it in Slack. Can you not see Slack?
I can, but they can't.
Oh, right. Okay, I put it in the Zoom chat and Slack.
All right, so that's the one we're going to use.
Maybe you should use a real computer instead of, what you're using.
Actually, I think it's because you logged in with the same user account that I'm logged in with.
Oh.
It doesn't let us both on chat at the same time. So it's all your fault.
I suck.
All your fault.
I suck.
Okay. You're forgiven.
Stink on ice here, so.
Okay, so I'm going to ignore that, and we're going to do it on the other DC now that you guys actually have the link that you need, which that really bothers me that it's not in there. It's like an entire directory gone. Whatevs. So we're going to
Is that the only PowerShell script you need?
Yeah, that's the only one in here, and then it actually creates all these thingies, so we can like.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do this instead. All right.
Can you bump the font size on that?
Yeah, I need to change the. Maybe. See how much this messes with everybody. Ooh, buddy. Does that work?
That's geezer font right there.
Is that too much?
No, that's good. That works.
That's good?
That's
right.
perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. That is gigantic on my 28-inch monitor. So we're going to go to C temp. BloodHound master. Mine's in 2 directories for some reason. So hopefully you all have this, and we can all run it happily together. I have no idea why they removed it from their repo, but whatevs. So you have a link to it now. So we're going to move to that, and then all we have to do is do import -module, and the name of the PowerShell file, so bloodhound.ps1, to enter. And it's going to tell you this is, potentially harmful, obviously. So we're going to hit R for run. And then we're going to do invoke -bloodhound. Enter, and holy cow. I think maybe I am not logged in as admin. I swear this just worked the other day. Ha ha ha. I'm a moron. Huh, there we go. You have to be admin to run it. So, yes, I have to do all this stuff in PowerShell, right? But at this point, you're already assuming they have access to a box, and there are ways to actually get around having to be an admin in PowerShell, and there's ways to have getting around setting the execution policy. We're just assuming they've gotten that far and they're on to like their next step. And this is, you know, for more Recon eventually for them to add to everything. So right now it's writing all of those CSV files. So those will update here in a minute, and it'll create yours from scratch, where it should in whatever directory that PowerShell script is in. And so that'll take a little bit. While that's running. Okay. Goodness. You can still hear me, right? Because it completely, totally just logged me out of Zoom, and I'm sure it'll like record for another 4 hours again.
Loud and clear.
All right. This is a disaster. The first 2 sessions went so well.
It was probably because I logged out. I left
Oh
the meeting.
Oh my God.
I hate myself. I'm sorry.
Stop touching stuff.
Okay, I will stop touching things.
All right, so that's running. Where was I at? Here we go. We'll go back to this. So go ahead and let that run. It'll take a little bit, depending on your lab, really. If you're on the same box that it's running on, and depending on how much memory it has, that box seems to be having some issues anyways, so it might take a little bit. So we'll just let that go. So on to more malicious action stuff. And I know that we just ran that and it's going to collect a whole bunch of stuff, but we'll actually come back to that and I'll show you how to alert on it too. But that's later on in like the specific alerting, and I have more stuff to cover. So we'll go on to another malicious action. So one of the first methods of attack that people can use is Responder by Spider Labs. So if nobody's used it, it's pretty cool. It does a whole bunch of different like spoofing attacks. Specifically, it'll allow spoofing of LLMNR, so local link multi-name resolution, and NBTNS. So both of those are DNS-ish, like name resolution things. And they'll respond to queries that Windows workstations broadcast out by default on a network. So by default, when a Windows workstation requests a name lookup, it'll do 3 queries by default. First, it'll look at its local host file, which is like a text file in the operating system. Next, it'll look for the configured DNS servers, and then it'll broadcast over NetBIOS. So if the first 2 queries return no results, the machine will broadcast that request. So like if you have a box that's looking for a share that doesn't exist, or they type a share name incorrectly, they have a mapped share name, mapped to their device incorrectly, or that it's not there anymore, Responder can respond to those and spoof those requests and listen for all of that. LLMNR queries are made after a DNS query fails to see if that's on the local network. Not only will Responder spoof those and answer those requests, but you can also get usernames and password hashes off of those. Another thing that it will do, it'll allow you to exploit the built-in proxy detection, which is called WPAD on Windows. So on a corporate network, usually they have a DNS entry for wpad.blah.local or .com or whatever the domain is. Normally that points to a proxy server that has a file on it that's called wpad.dat. That tells Internet Explorer where to direct its internet traffic if whatever proxy settings that you want the machines to have, you can use that .dat file to populate them. So if that query fails, so say you don't have a wpad.dat file out there, or if it is looking for a DNS server or a DNS entry for that proxy server that doesn't exist, responder can spoof those as well and respond to the non-existent name that's out there. And it does that because the client's going to fall back to WINS, which is the old version of name resolution that Windows used. And that also does like that local broadcast looking for WPAT on the network. So on Windows Vista and later, that's also based on LLMNR, which always like gets messed up in my my mouth when I try and say it. So I will show you how to run responder, and we'll see if this doesn't bomb out like the other things have kind of bombed out. So go ahead, and responder is going to already be on your Kali instance, hopefully, if it's not all messed up as well. And responder will do a couple other things too. It'll like fingerprint the OS, and has a couple different options that you can run in it. It's actually listed as one of the top tools that gains domain admin access. So I'm going to look
So are you
at.
going to go through how to disable or get rid of the
Yes.
how to? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll do, this is all just the mean stuff first. So I'm going to ifconfig and see. Try and do things right, and I'll run, it's all against me. So ifconfig is going to show my network adapters. So here I have that one right there. I'm supposed to have another. Oh, that could be why. I need to connect that.
So Joe says once you have a compromised host with a PAC file, it's great fun to intercept all destinations identified in the PAC file with responder.
Oh, that sounds fun. With, oh, you said with responder?
Yeah, I guess the PAC file comes from WPAD.
That's your proxy auto config file.
So yes, it does come from WPAD then. Yeah.
Yes. That is the client side of the WPAD lookup.
So that's almost like an ARP spoofing kind of attack, but it's a little higher up on the stack.
It's a static, static ARP.
Yeah.
So I don't have to look up on the network. I don't have to broadcast an ARP. I just look in the kind of like a host file. Go to the proxy for these.
Okay.
Yeah, we do something similar to that at work. We have Bastion hosts that you have to grab the auto. It's in Mac and Linux. It's called auto configuration file. But they don't call it the PAC or W. We don't use WPAD. We just have a proxy server that we go to that pulls down the necessary config files. So I would assume the same thing could be done with a malicious web proxy or something like that, where it would pull. You could, gain access to the web proxy that you pull the config file down from and do much the same thing. Jason said a better way to force clients to your proxy is with WCCP. I don't know what that is, Jason. What is that? Jason says it's a Cisco protocol used for web caching, but used with proxies. There you go.
Sorry, I have to look at my network adapter settings.
How many people use web proxies in their environment? It's a quick show of hands or fake hands or type yeses. Oh, me. Oh, well, Jason, obviously, because he's so well versed with the web proxy and such.
Okay, there we go.
Right. So we got a few people.
We would always just hard code our proxy settings into group policy and disable all the WPAD stuff.
Ah, okay. Guess that's another way of doing it. Do you use DNS names for that in case you have to change the IP address?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jason says there's ways around that.
Of course there is. There's ways around everything.
Jason's just Black Cloud. He's just like, I can get around it.
It's detecting it. That's what we're...
Right.
I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I don't think I have to have two network adapters for this to work, but I kind of wanted it to have one, at least the one internal working. Otherwise, it's not going to be on the same broadcast domain, and it won't see my traffic.
Jason says to make sure you kill all outbound web traffic not coming from your proxy. So there you go.
Correct. Or DNS servers. Or all the other crap that people have to let out to the internet.
Yeah, I guess if all of a sudden you start seeing something doing name resolution on your network that isn't your DNS server, that might be a flag.
It's surprising the amount of things that do name resolution.
Really?
Yeah.
And is it because they're just transparently pulling it from the DNS server so it looks like it's doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so we're just going to run this and see if it works. So what I'm going to do is run responder on the Kali box and go over to my Windows 10 test box and try and map a drive to something random that doesn't exist. And hopefully my username and password will show up. At least it did last time I did it. So we're going to do responder-L, which is going to be for the Ethernet the traffic is going to be redirected to. So in this case, it is ETH0 up here with this IP address. And -W starts the WPAD proxy. R allows it to respond to NetBIOS, and F is going to fingerprint the host. So I'll hit enter. Oh, wait, sorry, .I, -I, capital I. So it's listening for events now. It sees it's on that it's fingerprinting the host. You're probably going to see other stuff that's on my lab, and all this other stuff that is on. All three poisoners are on. So
Are you poisoning everything in your lab?
I am poisoning everything in my lab, and I think some of my other devices are on my lab and aren't supposed to be right now. So you might see those, but none of them are trying to off to anything. So
if you crash your cable box, then you're gonna,
Michael's downstairs playing PlayStation, so hopefully that's not.
Oh.
Come on, test box, log in. I'm gonna try, see, it's me testing a whole bunch of bad things. Blah, blah, blah. Hit okay. I'm pretty sure I'm on the same network. That would be nice. Oh, yeah. Phew. Right there.
Joe says, be careful when poisoning iTunes. Lessons learned.
That's great. Where's that VM at? There it is. Oh, Fingerprint failed. That's no fun. So it takes a little bit for the broadcast to happen. Sometimes. Hopefully it'll work.
Can you force it just to say, poison everything that's a Windows box? Or
That's what it's doing.
I knew that.
It's poisoning everything that's using that protocol.
I see.
And doesn't get found. Like if I actually had what I typed in there, that if I actually had those as a mappable shares somewhere in DNS or cached on this box, it would go directly to those boxes as opposed to using what responder's gonna spoof, so the LLMNR or NetBIOS.
I see. Is there a possibility that the server that you're using has turned off LLMNR?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Actually, I can try it on this too. Because I know I didn't do it on this domain. Okay, so I couldn't access it. For some reason, it's still looking for blah, blah, blah. Oh, did I capture it up here? Am I missing it? Oh, yeah. There we go. Ta-da. So there is my BrakeSec domain admin administrator hash.
Nice.
Input, yeah. Ta-da. Right there. And that's when it was looking for blah, blah, blah. I must have it turned off on the other one. Because that didn't go. But yeah, I fingerprinted the OS correctly. And, IP address, username, password, and the entire hash. Okay, so there's that malicious action. I'm glad that worked. And before I had it up, but I didn't actually say it out loud, here are the files that BloodHound actually went through and updated. So it didn't have any updated trusts or user sessions that it found. So the last time I run that was, last November. But all these have been updated since then. So I had local admins, group membership, container structure, and group policy links. And all of those will probably have something in them. Yep. So it'll actually list, like this is the actual group policy object name. Just like this one is, and then these UIDs are, the folders that they're in, and usually where they're linked, yeah. So like this is the OU that it would be linked to, which was like the default domain controller policy. So that the database add-on that BloodHound is really known for would take all of this into account and makes this huge little spider map thing of how the domain's all set up. Running one on your test lab wouldn't really come up with a whole lot, just because you don't have active logins all the time. You don't really have that big of a group policy structure. You don't have that many links, that kind of stuff. But it's nice to look at in Notepad, and the fact that you can go through and see what computers are added and the user accounts and all that kind of stuff. Alrighty, so back to the slides. So what do we do for defensive mitigation for this? So I will show you how to disable at least LLMNR. You can't really disable NetBIOS directly within group policy, but there are a few different ways you can get it done. I will give Brian a link to send you guys that is, and it'll be in the slides too, on disabling NetBIOS via PowerShell, because it's actually changing registry settings, which you can kind of push through policy still, but it's going to be specific to your network adapters. So it's something that you could that would be better pushed out with like an endpoint solution, or change management, or definitely in your default builds. And you can also depending on what hands out your DHCP, you can set it in that as well. So we will go back to the domain controller, and we're going to turn off LLMNR. If I can find what box that needs to be on. We will not do it on that one. All right. I need to change this back so you guys can see it. I don't know why my screen resolution keeps on going back.
Hey, Amanda.
Yeah.
You said that there's a DHCP option for what?
For disabling NetBIOS.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So we opened up group policy. We're going to go, we'll just go ahead and do it on the whole domain. So we'll edit this, go into computer configuration, policies, administrative templates, network, and DNS client. And if we do it by alphabetical order, we're going to turn off multicast name resolution. And you set this to enabled. And that turns off.
Interesting how they don't just call it LLMNR, they call it multicast name resolution.
Yeah, it's and you can't search in group policy. Like, there's no searching for keywords in group policy, which is a gigantic pain in the butt. So you really just have to find it all online. But yeah, that's where that setting is. So you can set that to enabled, and then that won't work anymore. However, it will fall back into if NetBIOS is enabled, and that will work. So we'll close that.
Does this get re-enabled if you ever run patches on a box? Will those settings come back, or is it good to go once you turn it off?
Windows, so I've seen
check it
things happen. Yeah, definitely. Just because I've seen just things randomly turn. I mean, with another refresh of group, it won't change your policy setting. So with another refresh of group policy, whenever the computer reboots, whenever they log off and log back on, it will take effect again. But yeah, I've definitely seen it do weird things like that before.
Apparently the new Windows 10 builds are basically a new, just drop in new Windows version. So it's clearing logs. I would imagine it would also clear settings as well.
Right. So another thing to worry about, especially if you have an older forest functional level, is something called an LM hash. Now, those happen before NTLM. And it's an older hash, way more easily cracked than the NTLM version 2. And it will actually store AD credentials in, it's like, I'm going to get this wrong. It's like 14-byte or bit repeats, something like that. Whatever it was, like it way easier to crack, right? So there's a way to actually disable that LM hash, and that's on anything below 2008. Everything after that was set enabled by default. So I'll just go where that is real quick, just in case anybody ever runs into some older Windows boxes. So that is in computer configuration, Windows settings. Security settings, local policies, security options, and that is under network security. Is it this one? Yeah. Do not store LAN manager hash value and next password change. So it actually removed the hashes from actually storing them on the servers, which is, you know, a plus. And you don't have to define that here just because it's enabled by default. Back to the slides. Maybe. Stop that. Okay. Because there's a whole lot of different defensive things to cover, this one gets 3 slides. So we covered how to disable LLMNR. This is just kind of a ballpark statistics on time to crack certain password complexities. Obviously, this is going to change depending on how many, you know, GPUs you're using, or you know, the amount of like the efficiency that you're using to crack passwords. But this is just kind of math-ish ideas of what it is. So one of the larger hurdles in organizations is what should the complexity requirements be. Obviously too short's insecure, but too long and complex, and the users start writing everything down under their keyboard. So in Windows Server 2008, Microsoft introduced the capability to implement fine-grained password policies. Using fine-grained password policies is can be extremely beneficial to control more advanced and detailed password strength options. There's some cases where, like, a user or a group might have different password requirements and restrictions based on you know, different compliance regulations or whatever. So you can use those fine-grained password policies to kind of go through and set those differently. We don't have to go through that. I have pretty detailed instructions in the notes, so you guys can go through and set a fine-grained password policy if you want. A lot of it is already pretty much just in group policy for you to set. One of the things that I really don't enjoy about using Active Directory for usernames and passwords is the fact that, like, say I have you know, Bob's Pharmacy. I can't say I don't want anybody to ever use the word pharmacy in a password. Like, that's just one of my huge pet peeves. They actually used to have something that you could, like, custom create a DLL in Windows 2000, and they took it away. So you don't really have that anymore in Active Directory. It would be super nice, but you kind of have to have, like, an add-on solution if you want to be a little bit more restrictive for that kind of stuff.
So would something like the new service that Troy Hunt put out, I put a links into your Slack channel, Ms. Berlin, and the Zoom chat. He created an API where you can go and check. It'll send like the first 6 characters of the hash to Troy's service, and it will send back a list of possible hashes that could be the password that you're checking against to see if it's a bad password or bad hash.
Oh, that's nice.
Could that be something that could be implemented in AD?
Yeah, I just don't know that I would feel comfortable sending my password hashes to somebody else.
Well, he only asks for the first 6 characters of the password hash, and I think it's in SHA, so you'd have to convert that to, you know, from whatever the AD password hash is to SHA. I
mean, it'd be interesting. I don't know if you could get like approval for that or not. That would be interesting to find out, though. This is actually a log that I found that we were trying to get this software to log correctly into Splunk. And it was like Friday at 4:30 p.m. and their security dude was like on a beach in Jamaica somewhere, and I had to call him and let him know that the software that they were using to control their password policies in Active Directory was logging plain text into their logs. So you definitely have to watch out for the software that you do use if you want to look for an outside solution, because some of them can be a gigantic nightmare.
That made it through the security review, I'd imagine.
I'm not sure they had security reviews there. And he really didn't care either when I kind of told him this. He's like, oh, it can wait until I get back. So, you know, whatevs.
You want to get breached, that's how you get breached.
Right. I guess they contacted the company and they had changed it in an update. But yeah, it's definitely something you want to keep an eye out for.
I'm in Jamaica, man.
Yeah, like, sorry about your luck. So now we're going to go back and we're going to alert, show you how to alert on that BloodHound demo that we went through. So first we have to enable advanced PowerShell logging. So back to group policy.
If only there was a tool or something we could use that would log that kind of stuff, or make those changes for people.
You know, the screen resolution is really, really annoying me. It's just not staying, and I don't know why. Keep changes, damn it. Every time I go off and come back on, it's going back. But, okay, so we are still in group policy, and we're still editing that whole domain group policy object that we have. So we're going to go to, let's see here, where's this at? Under user, oh, not there. Policies, admin templates, Windows components, Windows PowerShell, and turn on module logging. I'm going to select that. Not only are we going to enable this, but we actually have to enable it for different module names. And we are just going to put a star because we want to log all the things. And let's see if I can hit apply. Okay. Okay. So we have turned on module logging. I'm going to close that one out. Okay, all right. Close that, close that, close that. And we're back to PowerShell again. I am going to run as administrator, my command prompt. And I'm going to do a GP update force. I'm pretty sure this will work. I don't think I need an update. A reboot for this to take effect. But we're going to be looking for a specific event ID that will actually show us running BloodHound. Kind of the same idea as when we did net sessions, but just in PowerShell. Okay. So if we're going to do the same thing again, we're just going to invoke BloodHound. And really you can do anything, and it's hopefully going to log it in Event Viewer. And we'll open that up under Windows Logs and Security. Holy cow, this is gigantic.
At least my old eyes can actually see it, so that's the important thing.
Yeah. I do need to make it a little bit bigger so I can actually find the right event. Let's see here.
You young punks and your vision.
Yeah. Okay. All right, it's supposed to, oh, you know what? I don't think it's going to be in security. It is under something else totally that I forgot. I think it should be this.
There's a
There
specific
we
PowerShell log.
Yeah. So after a certain version, they started breaking it down when you did the advanced logging
Yeah.
and made it so they all have their own specific log. So this is actually in the Windows PowerShell log. And right here, it actually tells you what the script name was that was run. Now, I've seen people after they've sent this to their SIMs write rules that say, I want to be alerted anytime a PowerShell script is run, and then I also want to be alerted faster if it's, over a certain amount of characters. And then they'll go through like a tuning process where it's, they know these applications use PowerShell to do this, so they'll, whitelist those. But everything else is going to say, hey, this PowerShell script was run, because PowerShell, you can't, yes, you can disable it, organization-wide, but it's really going to affect your sysadmins and all of your processes. It's very difficult to get around using PowerShell in an organization anymore that uses Windows. And anyways, there's ways that you can go through and enable it anyways if you're an attacker. So
Yeah,
you might as well just learn how to alert on it.
Jason says that this works for obfuscated PowerShell also because it shows the deobfuscated script.
Mm-hmm. So right here, you can look for event ID. I also have in my notes that you can look for 4103. I'm not sure exactly what 4103 was. I think that might be in even a different log. There's another Microsoft Windows crap ton, like all of these right here. There's so many different logs now. I thought there was like a PowerShell admin or something. Oh, there we go. PowerShell, yeah, admin and operational. Oh, there's 4103. So either one of those. So 808 is in the regular PowerShell log, and then this is in PowerShell operational log is 4103. And that is, what's that? Executing pipeline.
Seems to me that's a bad thing if you see this and BloodHound in the same log.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of different pen testers, and they use BloodHound, and there was another one that I cannot remember off the top of my head that also enumerates Active Directory that you can use. But that kind of stuff is good to set up in your SIM to alert on. And holy crap, it's 10:30 and I'm on slide 51. Okay, so I don't have an entire hour worth unless you guys, well, I probably could make another hour's worth if you guys want to do it next Monday. I'll leave it up to you. I know I told you it would just be 4 weeks, and now this is the 5th week, and I'm saying that you can have another hour if you want. I have another 15 slides and 3 walkthroughs if you want, that we can do next week.
Everyone seems to be okay with that.
Okay.
Except for, yeah.
You'll get the videos even if you can't make it. So,
right.
Yeah, we can definitely do almost at least another hour next week. I'll try and fit it all in.
Yeah. Plus, there's something that came out today, Attack Navigator, which I didn't know if you'd had a chance to look at that yet.
I did, but I kind of want to rewrite this entire thing to go along with the MITRE framework as opposed to this other one, the KillChain.
Right. Well, maybe you can do that for your workshop that you're going to be doing.
Dude, I could turn it. If I did everything that was in MITRE, it could be like a 3-day class.
I can imagine. So it looks like we're good to go for next week if we want to do another hour. So
okay,
that will be available.
Yeah, I can definitely. I'm pretty sure I can get an entire hour in next week too. So.
Okay. All right. I'll send an email out to the master roster for everybody to remind them, because not everybody showed up tonight.
Yep.
So to let them know that there'll be another hour-long class at least next week, and they just get a little more for their money. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah. Next week we I think it's 2 demos. One is going to be LAPS, so local admin password solution, and enabling local account token filter policy, and then doing a little bit of OSINT.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Well, anybody have any questions? Vampy Cat's asking where I sign up for that. Remote would be great. What do you mean for like the workshop she's going to do at the B-sides? Those may not be remote.
Yeah, it'll be mostly just the same content unless I like really, really ramp it up. I had somebody interested in co-teaching with me to like double the size, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe eventually I could do it somewhere else too. I'm not brave enough, I guess, to do it in public.
Oh, come on now.
But I'm glad you guys like it.
This is awesome.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit
right.
about Sims too.
Love it. Appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right on.